The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome back to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick, your host from Stress2Logic, and we are continuing the conversation with Manya Chylinski, who is a survivor of the Boston Marathon bombing. One of the things that she said in the first session was that she felt like an invisible victim, meaning she didn't have any physical body scars, but certainly had a psychological impact. And as Americans, we've had tragedy throughout our lives, and I just kind of looked up some tragedies that I remember. And it doesn't matter whether it was Hurricane Katrina, Maria, Sandy, Rita, Ike, the Columbine shooting, the Uvalde shooting, the Highland Park shooting, 9/11, the Challenger explosion, COVID-19, the Oklahoma City bombing, the Hawaii wildfires, riots, wars like in Ukraine and the war on Israel from Hamas, or even the recent bridge collapse. All of these things affect us as Americans, and they're sentinel events in our lives. And Manya was certainly there, so she has a little bit more of a connection to the event. But as Americans, I was upset. I was angry when the space shuttle exploded. I was in junior high. I remember we watched it live. It was really scary. For 9/11, I was in the basement of a police department walking back and forth where there was paramedic. It was a public safety department where there was paramedic continuing education going on. And I saw it happen live. Except at the time, I thought it was a training video from the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995, which was 7 years prior. So these all have an effect on us, a psychological effect on us, but the people that are actually there, that have experienced it, or family members of people who are experiencing it, those are also the invisible victims. So ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be continuing the conversation with Manya right now.
I think one of the things, as at least in my own experience, is there still is a stigma about talking about our mental health and our emotional health. And also, to be fair, not everybody wants or needs to talk about those things in their life. But if you are someone who does want to talk about them, it can be difficult sometimes to know who is truly open to hearing the story or being able to hold the pain and the difficulty without turning around and offering advice or dismissing what you're saying. So offering yourself as a resource is great. In my case, there would need to be some other follow-up before I would know that it would be okay to share with you.
So I know that the topic has been a little bit somber, or a lot of it somber, and I'd like to pivot to today. So and greatly appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable and just telling the listeners how it really was from the perspective of someone who was there. So pivoting to today, I got a hold of you through someone who got a hold of you through someone, ultimately through Speaker Lab. So you are a keynote speaker. What topics do you cover, and where have you spoken in the past?
Well, I talk about resiliency and about compassionate leadership. One of the things that I have come to learn through my own experience and experience of others that I've talked to is personal resiliency is absolutely important. You know, we all have it. It's something we should all be working on. And you know, we are responsible for our own lives, so that's important. But I have learned that we all, you know, live in a world where there are systems and institutions and organizations around us who are, you know, making decisions, and making decisions for us, about us, around us. And that's the context that we live in. So while personal resiliency is critical, it's also important that the organizations that we're part of are creating or building environments that are supportive as well. So that has been, the evolution of my speaking. I first started talking to first responder organizations and emergency management and public safety organizations about, don't forget, after an event like this, there are people like me. How do you plan ahead to take care of survivors in the aftermath? And that evolved into realizing it's important that our society and our organizations and our workplaces take care of people who have been traumatized. Because when you take care of the most vulnerable among us, that just lifts everyone up.
Very good. And you've done TEDx. Can you describe that experience?
Oh, that was amazing. I did TEDx Northeastern a couple of years ago now, and it's just, as a speaking experience, it's fascinating if you can kind of get out of your own head in the middle of it. But, you work with coaches and speaking coaches and speechwriter coaches who help you. And there's a lot of practice and a lot of polishing of the talk. The kernel of the idea, the basis of it is absolutely from me, and it's my story. But working with the coaches, it was, well, how does that thing, that story you just wanted to tell, how does that support the thesis? And also, there's a time limit on TEDx talks. You can probably talk for as long as you want, but I think it's 17 minutes. The TED organization won't publish your talk if it's longer than that. So then there's a lot of work on making sure you're getting your talk within that time frame, and that you're also then the actual performance of it, that you're not speaking too quickly, you're not speaking too slowly, you're pausing in certain moments, you're emphasizing pieces. It was really quite an education to be working with the team, and then just so amazing to do, and to be standing there on that red carpet, that little circle of red carpet, and talking to this audience and getting my message out. And it was so, I had practiced everything. I will tell you this. I practiced everything, including that they asked us to say the last line, and then just kind of pause and just say thank you. And then that indicates you're done. So I thought, okay, last line. And then in my head, I kept practicing, like 1001, 1002, 1003. Thank you. What I didn't practice is what comes after thank you, which is just stand there for a few moments and then casually walk off the stage. But what I did was 1001, 1002, 1003, thank you, and just bolted off the stage. And then there were my coaches, and they were like, "Oh my God, that was great. What was your final time?" And it was just so much support. And I just thought, oh no, they're not even going to be able to, like the video, they're not even going to be able to show me saying thank you, because I was afraid that I started running off the stage before I even finished. But I didn't. I said the full words thank you before I turned and quickly made my way off the stage. But I thought, okay, for next time, don't forget that something comes after the thank you too.
So were your coaches through the TED organization?
Yes. So, well, through TEDx. So
right.
TEDx are independently run, and there are many of them throughout the world. So there's TEDx Northeastern, there's a TEDx Boston, there's a TEDx Portsmouth, and each one of those is individually run by a team. They've got the producer, they've got their coaches, and many other people on the team. So in my case, TEDx Northeastern, a lot of the folks who are involved are students who want to learn about the TEDx process, and this is, an extracurricular activity for them. So I worked with two amazing Northeastern students who worked as my coaches, and I just felt so supported and just so validated also by the experience with them.
Manya, I did a TEDx last month.
Oh, you did? Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I got no coaching, no encouragement. It was send us your demo video. That was it. I had to do everything myself. So I'm like, what? You got that? So I'm jealous. But it went very well. It was awesome. I don't have the video yet. It's still in production, but
yes, it takes a little while. Yes. They have to first of all, they have to make sure that it's not over time. And then there are a few things you are not allowed to say. Like you can't sell from the stage, for example. Right. So they have to look through and make sure that you haven't done anything like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for telling me that. So you did a TEDx. You've done speaking at public safety agencies. How do you find speaking opportunities, or do these organizations reach out to you, or both?
Well, it's both. I've had people contact me directly to learn more about my work. A lot of contacts through word of mouth and from other speakers who speak about similar kinds of topics, and then have a connection with an event planner who might be interested in my kind of talk. I still do outreach, and I post a lot on social media and do all of the marketing things that we're supposed to be doing as independents. Kind of every way that you can find speaking opportunities, I've probably done it.
My wheels are turning now during this conversation because I teach emergency response. I don't teach what you teach, and it would be a great tag team if there's an opportunity in the future. You're definitely in my Rolodex.
Well, thank you. You're in my Rolodex as well, because awesome. You come at it from a different angle than I do. So, right. And that's the thing. There are a lot of speakers who talk about resilience. For example, we all come at it from a different perspective, from a different way. There are other people who share their experience of a traumatic event like I did. I feel like we're all on the same team.
Yes.
That we're not, I suppose on some level we are technically competing with each other for business, but on another level, it just feels like we're all sharing some really important messages, and we all want the world to be a better place. And so there is a place for all of us.
I agree. And what you teach on resiliency might not be the same techniques that someone else does. Right. And it might not speak to everyone. I totally get that. And I have had other businesses throughout the years. I don't look at us as competitors. I look at us as collaborators. Mm-hmm. I truly, truly believe that. So segueing into, what is CALEA 424 Communications and Project BFF?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Those are some other things that I spend my time on when I'm not working on my podcast or speaking or marketing my speaking business. So CALEA 424 Communications is my boutique marketing agency, which is through which I do my long form content writing. And that's something I still do work on. I very much enjoy that kind of work, even though I know that not a lot of people read white papers about technology. Those people who do, it really makes a difference to them. So I really like doing that work. And Project BFF is a passion project I do with a friend of mine, Terry Birkland. She and I got together and we think about and talk about the concept of friendship. And Project BFF is aimed at professional women over the age of 45, but we know that it's not limited to that topic, to those demographics. But we talk about, how do you make friends? How do you break up with friends? How do you have friends at work? What do you do if you're angry at a friend and you just had a fight? We have a podcast called Friendshipable, where we talk about these things and we interview experts on these topics, and we curate content about friendships. And it's I know that for a lot of your listeners, they're thinking, that sounds like work. And it certainly is work, but it is also something that I find enormously rewarding and fun. And I'm doing it with this good friend of mine. So it is something that I also count as fun.
Awesome. Can you tell the listeners what your websites are, where they can listen to your podcast, and how they can contact you with questions or speaking opportunities? Take it away.
Absolutely. Well, if you'd like to learn more information about my speaking, my website is manyachylinski.com. And that's the best way to reach me, Manya at manyachylinski.com. And I could answer all those other questions for you. My podcast for my speaking is Notes on Resilience. And I have a very special guest coming up soon. So I think your listeners might enjoy that. And the other place where you can find out about all the things I do is LinkedIn. That's the best way to reach me as well. And it's Manya Chylinski.
And I'm going to spell that for the listeners. First name is Manya. Last name is Chylinski. Completely random question. Why did your parents pick Manya as a name? This is the first time I've ever heard the name, so I'm curious what the background is, what the etymology.
Well, it's Polish, and it means Mary. And with a last name like Chylinski, you can bet I come from a Polish background. And my parents just really liked the name.
Okay, sweet. That's always interesting. When I was born, I was supposed to be Morris after my great-grandfather, but there was the Morris the Cat commercial, and my parents thought I would get teased, so they named me Marcus. That's a true story. I'm not making that up. As parents, we often are like, all right, what names can we think of for our kids, and how can we tease them so that they don't actually get in trouble later on? So, awesome. What final thoughts can you share about your experience, about healing, and how others who go through trauma can return to a state of normalcy?
That is a good question. And as you know, as we all know, it's such an individual experience. The bombing was a trauma to me, and it set me off this path. It wasn't a trauma in the same way to some of the friends that I was with there. They did not struggle with some of the same things that I struggled with. So it's such an individual journey. So I think one thought is to just remember not to compare ourselves to others and how quickly they got better, quote unquote, or that they don't seem traumatized, because your experience is your experience. And if you are feeling traumatized, then that was a trauma for you. I think the other thing to remember is it's a journey. I kept thinking, I want to get better. And to me, better meant healed and 100%, where it was like this thing never happened to me. But I slowly realized, well, I am a different person now. And it's not a date on the calendar or a location on a map that I'm going to get to, and then ta-da, I'm fixed, or I'm back to who I was before. For me, I finally realized I just want to get my ability to function back, and I want to function normally in the world. And I want to be able to deal with future traumas that happen to me. I want to learn from this. So I think remembering that it's a journey, and it might not necessarily be a destination that you're aiming for.
I'm going to summarize something that you said it quickly, but I think it's really, really important for everybody to understand. And that is, there's only one person in the world who can determine if you are traumatized, and that person is you. Someone might say, just suck it up, rub some dirt on it. But if you have a deep psychological scar, I have to applaud you, Manya, for really pulling your boots up by the bootstrap and getting the help that you needed, and now helping others in that. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to our listeners and share your perspective on trauma, resilience, and healing.
Oh, thank you, Marcus, for giving me the opportunity to share. And I hope I've given some value to at least one of your listeners.
Perhaps you gave value to me for sure.
I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So, on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So, if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRES2LOGIC.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show. What a fantastic person that Manya is. I am so honored that she actually would speak to little old me, because I'm a local phenomenon, but I'm also becoming a national one. So let me explain what I'm talking about. A week and a half ago, I was invited to the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies conference in Montgomery, Alabama, to speak on overcoming the hot stress mess. That's my signature keynote. So let me tell you about this organization, CALEA. CALEA stands for Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. It is a governing body, a voluntary governing body that creates standards for law enforcement to abide by. And I'll give you an example of one of those standards. One of those standards says that if there's evidence that's collected that is high value, meaning it is a firearm, it is cash or money, or it is drugs, it's not good enough to just put it in the evidence room that's locked and alarmed, but it has to be in a secure area in that room. A lot of places have built-in cages or safes, and that's one of the standards. And these outside auditors will come in and evaluate the agency against all of those standards. And lo and behold, I happen to be an accreditation manager for just shy of 10 years. So this was a conference that I had gone to in the past. I absolutely enjoyed it. I brought my family to it. It was just a blast. And because I was in the position for so long, I had the lingo. I had the humor. I showed a video of a grumpy old man, and I said, yeah, he's an accreditation manager who retired. So CALEA accreditation programs provide public safety agencies, more on the police side, communications, corrections, and school security or school police departments, an opportunity to voluntarily meet an established set of professional standards, including comprehensive and uniform written directives or policies and procedures that define authority, performance, and responsibilities, as well as reports and analyses to make fact-based and informed management decisions, preparedness for natural or human error critical incidents. They still call it man-made, but it's not always man-made. Sometimes it is human-made. Community relationship building and maintenance, an independent review by SMEs or subject matter experts, and continuous pursuit of excellence through its annual reviews and other assessment measures. There's over 450 standards that an agency can abide by. And what happens is a set of auditors come out, they look over the policies and procedures, go on ride-alongs, assess the overall agency, and then provide a report to the Greater Commission. The Greater Commission then meets, typically it's the Saturday or the last day of the conference, to decide if there is enough credibility to grant accreditation. And this commission is a 21-member commission. There's 11 law enforcement practitioners with a balance from public and private sectors, and generally they reflect a representation from local, state, international law enforcement, and public safety organizations. They're appointed in consultation with the 4 founding organizations, and they do not get paid. These are volunteers. So I always appreciate volunteers, and they're doing their best to promote law enforcement, make law enforcement professional. Each commissioner has a 3-year staggered term, and then they review the candidates for accreditation. With that said, I love going to conferences and speaking. So if you know of any professional level speaking conference opportunities or come to a corporation, I would love an introduction. My electronic business card is marcusmelnick.com. That is MarcusMelnick.com. That'll lead you to my firearms website and my speaking website and my contact information. The last thing I'm going to say for this show is I want to wish everybody a meaningful, happy, and holy Easter. I hope you're getting together with family. We have monthly concealed carry license CCL classes in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Dates can be seen at firearmmentor.com/classes. If you have a question, we can be reached at www.firearmmentorcard.com. That is our electronic business card, has all of our contact information and links in it. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the shooting range. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor signing off. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.